Severance Season 1 was pretty good and generally well liked. It had a cool setting, some interesting mysteries, and while it was a little slow, that's what 1.5 times speed is for. The thing is, with Season 2 on the horizon, is it going to fall foul of the same problems that we've seen in other shows before? Most notably, those being From and Lost, where there was even a writer that admitted they just made it up as they went along. Yes, it started with some interesting mysteries, but they were just mystery for mystery's sake. They would literally just think of the weirdest, most effed up thing they could find, write it, and never plan to pay it off. And so, as the series went on and people were after answers, they never arrived.
People bring up, like, you have to have everything planned out in order for a show to work.
One of the notes that we were just getting back from ABC was, when are you going to resolve these mysteries? And once you resolve these mysteries, why are people going to keep watching the show?
From had that same problem. It made an interesting world. It had interesting monsters, and the story kept expanding to new, strange, messed up situations. So Season 1 was well liked, Season 2 less so, and Season 3 even less. Well, the critics still love it. The audience is the one that drops off over time as people, is this going anywhere? I'm not against mysteries in a TV show. I just think you should reveal mysteries, then answer them as you reveal more at the same time. But that's far more complicated than the standard mystery box format that you get in From, where we just never answer anything at any point.
Lost was like, okay, like, what's in the hatch? What's up with the monster? You know, who's the original Sawyer? How did Locke get in the wheelchair? What is the nature of the island? Is it why does it appear to be moving? Who are the others?
That is my fear for Severance as we move forward into Season 2, and the reviews back it up. In fact, despite it still getting 94% fresh from 47 reviews, both the positive and the negative reviews agree on this. It just seems to be a personal thing about how sensitive you are to never getting any answers in the first place. If you love the unexplained, wild nature of the first, well, it just goes even harder. Further complicates what's going on. Season 2 muddies the waters. The show's canvas has grown broader, but the characters themselves have been reduced to mere archetypes. It's trying to do too much, and I have to ask the question, why should I care?
Cannon's Mystery Magic Box. $15 buys you $50 worth of magic, which is a savings.
Even the positive reviews were talking about how the underlying logic of the thing starts to shift and buckle. Returns with a helping of new mysteries, but it will frustrate you no matter how much you want to solve it. It remains twisty and tongue-in-cheek, but the series manages to skirt the need for outright answers. They even compliment it on the ability to leave questions unanswered and drop bombshells that won't be addressed. And they consider this expert storytelling. The thing is, so did JJ Abrams.
That it represents infinite possibility. It represents hope. It represents potential. And look inside yourself and figure out what is inside you, because ultimately, you know, the mystery box is all of us.
The same JJ Abrams that would have been responsible for Lost, who just made it up. To the fact where other writers now have a no polar bears rule, simply because they just put one on the island with absolutely no knowledge or reason why it should be there. A real mystery box needs answers. You have to write out what the problem is from the start. The mysteries that you create are supposed to be clues to the greater plot that you already know, not just strange things to make the audience go, oh, I wonder what that is. That's weird, isn't it? It's almost like the difference between a proper joke, which is told correctly, and the new Zoomer humor of lol, that's so random. Now, of course, Mystery Box has a point. JJ Abrams is correct when he's like, Mystery Box is compelling, but only up to a point.
Level 1 of that was, well, we're going to be introducing new mysteries as we go. So hopefully for everyone that we answer, we've left a new compelling mystery. If we get that balance right, they're not going to stack up. I think that we can both agree that we did not get that balance right.
He's correct when he says a mystery allows the audience to project what they want onto a TV show. And what you want is generally better than what the writers do. It's custom designed for you. But the problem is, if you're dragging that on forever, you're not really creating a TV show. He's talking about how not showing the alien makes it far scarier because it's got more potential. The thing is, if you take that to its logical conclusion, the most potential a TV show will ever have is when it's a blank page. And he even says that in his talk.
Then there's a thing of like mystery in terms of imagination, the withholding of information, doing that intentionally is much more engaging.
If you take the idea that showing less is actually allows for more potential and that makes something better, the best a show will ever be is before it was written, and every single word you write on that page ruins it a little bit more.
I find myself drawn to infinite possibility and that sense of potential. And I realized that mystery is the catalyst for imagination. When I started to think that maybe there are times when mystery is more important than knowledge, that blank page is a magic box. What are you going to write worthy of me. I often am like, dude, today I'm out. I got nothing.
But that's not really the problem of the mystery box for me. The problem is how psychologically manipulative it is. That's why when reviews are coming out and going that Severance is a frustrating second season, that's what mystery box does to me. That's what From has done to me. Every series I enter it going, you better answer these questions, and then they never do. And so by the time I get to the end of it, I'm just pissed off, and I'm not really sure that I accept the defenses. The first series of Severance was one of the best standalone TV outings of the streaming era. An incredible conclusion, but it was a tough act to follow. And he thinks of this because while the first series was just writers with a mandate to get as creative as possible, he now thinks it's a show weighed down by its own ideas. As someone that's watched the first half of the season, he feels that there are too many thematic loose threads, and he can only hope that the second half ties all these ideas together and makes them feel stronger in hindsight. But the problem is, that never happens in mystery box shows.
We always did our best, but it became clear that we were working so hard to keep the characters on the island. And it was starting to be immensely frustrating.
And this is why it's such a manipulative tactic. I watched all of Lost, and every season I hoped they'd explain it this season, and they never did. And then, by the time you got to the final season, and they had to try and answer them, they had no idea, because it wasn't written with a plan. Everything kept expanding to the point where it would be impossible to explain all of it, because it wasn't intended at the time. The mysteries weren't clues to a grander explanation. There was no explanation until they had to retroactively force one on themselves.
I get a lot of people asking me in terms of Lost, what the hell's that island? It's usually followed by, seriously, what the hell's that island?
And in every series of From, it gets weirder and weirder. Stranger things happen as the audience slowly drops off, as they never answer anything. And yet I still keep watching it in the hope that they will. And I'm going to watch season 4, and I'm going to be even more pissed off at the end of season 4. But I will watch it.
And I realized, oh my God, mystery boxes are everywhere in what I do. What are stories but mystery boxes?
I call it psychologically manipulative because it's manipulating me. And I know it is, and I still can't stop myself. Get to a point where you've invested so much time in it, it's like, I need to know what the answer is. And you still know they haven't written one. That's not to say I don't have hopes for season 2. I hope I do enjoy it as much as the first one. And in fact, when you get reviews saying it abandons the eccentric humor of the first season, good. LOL so random isn't funny unless you're a 14-year-old with ADHD. And making people act bizarre isn't a plot. That said, what this review criticizes, I think, is one of the strong points. That it is bogged down by abstract ethical conundrums. That actually sounds awesome. Abstract ethical conundrums actually require somebody intelligent to write them. It's one of the things that made Star Trek great. But if you're trying to do them about a work-life balance, that's probably not going to carry the same kind of impact. I do agree that the first season is intolerably slow. Like I say, 1.5 times speed, folks. Preferably 2. It's a high-concept approach which has surface-level appeal, and its incessant twists simply led to more questions, and a growing suspicion that the writers wouldn't be able to tie it all together. Although anytime a journalist, when reviewing a TV series, starts to talk about capitalism's excesses, it's generally not the show which is critiquing that at all. You're just retarded and pretentious. But I think the key thing is retarded. The 10 episodes for season 2 cost $20 million a piece. How? There's like 7 characters in the entire show, and most of it is just set in a white office room with a few computers. These series are custom made to be as cheap as possible. How do you manage to spend $20 million in an episode? That's more impressive than the show. And so in season 2, we get a story about luring people back from rebellion with office perks. And the writers seem less interested in poking fun at the real-life corporate culture than it is in mining the tension between the innies and the outies. And I have to say, I don't really care. What I wanted to know is what the hell is going on in the office? What are the numbers? What are the strange rooms? What the hell is underneath? I don't really care about the personal drama of the employees. I want to know what's going on. And that is what I don't think I'm going to get.
The investment of character, which is the stuff that really is inside the box. Romantic comedy, The Graduate, you don't hear anything they're saying. You can't hear a word, but it's the most romantic date ever, and you love it because you don't hear it. So
instead, they want to worry about how every job requires renting out one's body and brain, just to do so for unknown purposes with no memory of what's occurred. It seems like they think of themselves as intellectuals who are trying to analyze the corporate environment, and I just want to know what's going on. And I think that a good series would manage to do both. It would simultaneously allow the drama of the environment, expand what the environment is with more mysteries, while answering the problems for the first one. The more detail you find out about mysteries, the more mysteries should be opened up to you from the information that you found out. And yet so few series actually manage to follow that plan and do it successfully. Because let's face it, It's the harder one to do. It requires you to have answers and constantly plan out the plot so that you know where you're going and can constantly drop new hints to new mysteries, which all lead to the final conclusion. To create something like this, you'd have to think of it more like a long novel with multiple books, where you have the entire arc planned out, you know all of the answers, and it's just a case of writing how you get there. I don't think that's what we get in TV series. It's definitely not what we have in From, or in Lost, or in JJ Abram's Alias.
And right at that same time, Alias had ended. So Lost absorbed a number of the fantastic Alias writers.
Instead, the easier method is to just only think 5 seconds ahead and just write in whatever's weird and wacky and hope that people stay around. It manipulates you with sunk time fallacy and just the desperate need to know what on earth is in the box in order to keep watching until eventually they just bore you and you give up. You find yourself no longer watching for the entertainment value, you're watching to try and find out what's in the pissing box.
The mystery box is all of us.
And I think the difference between the two ways of writing a story is quite simply talent. Mystery boxes become so popular in modern entertainment because it allows bad writers, untalented writers, to appear like they're better than they are. Anyone can come along and write wacky stuff. They can just make up the weirdest thing they can think of and have absolutely no plan. That's not difficult to do, and it can keep you in a job for series after series getting paid fortunes when you have no idea what you're doing. It's the other tactic that requires talent to plan everything out from the start before anything's even made, to know where you're going to end up, and understand how you can deconstruct and reverse engineer that back 10 books. That's complicated. That's talent. That's what Hollywood doesn't have anymore. And that is why, despite my hopes that Severance will be good, I don't think I'm going to get any answers. I think it will drag on time after time and convince people that it is good simply by manipulating the mystery box. But I think my most hated part of all of it is I know it's going to work on me, because here I am, still watching From, even though it pisses me off. When it comes to the mystery box, I am the problem. But those are just my thoughts. What are yours? Let me know down in the comments below. Like the video if you like the video. Subscribe, more videos like this in the future, and I will see you in the next one. Bye-bye.